mission is obviously to serve all students. Can you address A, how well you think the district is doing that, and B, in what ways the district can improve upon its intervention programs for those students who are struggling or falling behind?
Thank you. This is something that's near and dear to my heart because when I got on board 4 years ago, I kept saying we're not focusing on all students. And it's not that we didn't want to, it's just, in my opinion, we weren't. And it's a lot bigger problem than we think to solve, because where do you attack it, right? Where do you start? I mean, when you get a kid in high school who's far below basic, he's not like a grade behind, he's probably 3-4 grades behind. So it's a very difficult process. And the way we've attacked it, and you can see it in the results that's happening at all school levels, right? You do it through collaboration, and that's the beauty of the professional learning community model that we started to put out there, is that you're looking at data, you're looking at what students are struggling and where they're struggling at. And I'll use Frederickson as one of my examples, is last year, in 2011, they had, I think, don't quote the number, I think it was like 11 or 12 students that were far below basic in English language arts. They used intervention, they worked together as a team, they collaborated. Last year with the CST, the number is now 0. So we are attacking it, we're doing it the right way, we're doing it with data. We're looking at who's struggling, where are they struggling at, and how do we approach that? That's why we're closing the achievement gaps. You look at a school like Dublin, all the subgroups, the 5 basic subgroups are now above 800. That's fabulous. That means we're making progress, not with just the high achieving students, but all students. The other thing we need to do is we have to have options. We have to have the arts. We have to have ROP. We need to keep those programs alive, and we need to keep them going, and we need to find ways to expand them. It's tough economically, and so we have to do it within our budget, but we have to make sure those programs don't go away.
Serving the academic needs of all students, whether they're college-bound, heading into the workforce, a student with disabilities, gifted, or both, has really been a cornerstone of my campaign. Our economic situation means we have to do more with less, and the only way to compensate for that is by having our entire community working together and bringing something new to the table. We need parents tutoring students after school. We need community leaders, reading in classrooms, high school students mentoring elementary students. Efforts like the Barton tutors need to be revived. The Barton program was a group of parents who tutored students for free. And now that program no longer exists because they didn't get the little support that they needed. We need school administrators and board members to be supportive of programs like that. We need parents to ask their kids what they learned in school that day. Check homework and make sure it's in the backpack before bed. We need them to know when report cards are coming out and do all that they can to make sure their children are ready to learn something new every next day. We need teachers to let parents know when there are concerns, and then again when things are going in the right direction. We need administrators to provide leadership and support teachers as they substitute creativity for funding in meeting the needs of all students in the classroom. We need communities that take interest in what goes on in our schools and contribute resources, cash, personal time, snacks, art supplies, whatever they can give. Because at the end of the day, our schools will only be as good as we all are together. And coming together is the best intervention we can do for all of our students.
One of the most important things we can do with interventions is to identify them as early as possible. Because the earlier we can identify the need, the better it is for the student and the better it is for the district as well. And that's one of the reasons why we're now moving forward with a transitional kindergarten program, in order to get some kids more. It's a better investment early on to build that foundation. There's so many classes, math in particular, that are foundational or one-year skills built upon the next. And so the earlier we can identify the kids who have needs, the better. Some of the other things in which we can do is what's known as differentiated instruction, where kids are put together in groups somewhat based on the ability, or where the instruction is tailored toward their particular ability. What's nice about that is that you don't want a high-achieving student bored because the material is not challenging enough, and yet you don't want a student that struggles a little more completely disengaged because they're so lost that they can't find. So the more we can tailor instruction and group kids together in order to best serve their needs is better. And one of the things in which we do every year, this binder here is, we get one of these every year, this is the single plan for student achievement. And every school here presents to us, and this is a board meeting where it's about a 3-hour work study session over 2 days. It's about 6 hours total, where we go through all of the programs and we look at the data that different schools are doing and what programs are working. And it shows here everything into here, the cost of the program, the results, and what happens. So we're very much engaged in it. We've been engaged in it for years. And as you'll see on Tuesday night, we're going to be continuing engagement this morning.
So you've heard the term professional learning community a lot tonight. And basically what that is an opportunity for our teachers to collaborate, even maybe more than they've always collaborated, but it actually sets up a structured time. But what it also does is that it allows them the ability to look at students, look at data, and work with those students who need extra help, provide some other kind of tool, an online tool or something like that for the kids who need to be challenged. And I think that's why our test scores were so high, because we've really implemented the thought that each student is an individual learner. They all learn differently, and if they don't learn it the first time you teach it, then you find a different way to teach it. And I think our teachers are really embracing that idea, and they're doing that. And I think it shows, and this is something that I have talked a lot about with our district staff, because they are really trying to implement a comprehensive program. Each site has different interventions, and it's not all completely streamlined yet. So you might not get the same things at Doherty that you get at Dublin L, but that could be because the needs are different. So I think the question was how well is our district doing? I think our district is constantly striving to find the right interventions to meet the needs of each student at each school. And I also think there's always room for improvement. And I think they recognize that too, and I think it's a constant discussion. The last thing I want to say is that with Common Core coming, it's such a great transition that we're going to go through in our district, because it doesn't just test on content knowledge. The Common Core assessments will actually kind of look at the whole child, and it'll look at practical application. We'll have a portfolio, and it's a multimodal assessment, meaning that we are really looking at that whole child, and I think it's going to help us look at what interventions are needed, and we'll just keep continuing to improve.